Chapter 3. The man said, "Subscribe to C2 Wrestling and turn on notifications now."
Please. What is going on, guys? Snowden here. Friday night Smackdown tonight. The penultimate episode to tomorrow night's Saturday night main event. PLE, primetime TV event, whatever you want to call it. Saturday night's main event tomorrow. 4 matches on the card. We got a little bit of a deeper look into what we're going to get tomorrow night. Tonight on Friday night SmackDown, the show started off with Drew McIntyre and Damian Priest going at it, fighting all over the arena throughout the entirety of the show, realistically. Drew McIntyre, Damian Priest, steel cage tomorrow night. That is the match I'm probably looking most forward to tomorrow night. You know, we got that. We got the tag team match, CM Punk and Sammy versus Seth and Braun, which, don't get me wrong, I'm looking forward to that a whole lot. But both of those matches kind of trump Jay versus Logan and Cena versus Truth. So we'll get into it all. But tomorrow night's steel cage match should be fantastic. 2 big, meaty men. They went at it at WrestleMania in a great street fight. They should go at it again tomorrow in a great steel cage match. And tonight's confrontations between the two of them is exactly what it should have been. You know, this is really the end of that rivalry, this cage match tomorrow. At least it should be. Hope it is. So they're past the point of talking. You know, they're brawling all over, and that's exactly what I expected out of these two guys tonight. I got no complaints. That steel cage match could be up there in steel cage matches. You know, I don't want to speak too soon, but these two guys can go. So I'm looking forward to see what goes down. But following all that, immediately pretty much opens the show as well. We get the woman out to the ring. Money in the Bank qualifier. Julia gets the pin on Zelena Vega. Charlotte does not make her way into the Money in the Bank this year. This is exactly what I wanted, Julia, in the match. This is exactly what everybody wanted, Julia, in the match. I know there's going to be people out there online complaining. Zelena took the pin, the U.S. champion. It is what it is. You know, the U.S. championship, no offense to Zelena. Zelena's fine. It should not even be on Zelena right now. Chelsea has not found her way into this Money in the Bank yet. They have not done maybe the final shot battle royal or fatal 4-way, whatever it is. So Chelsea might not make her way in. If she's not going to, she should have never lost the United States Championship. And on top of that, Julia may have gotten the pin on Zelena tonight, but it's also Julia. It's the newest roster edition of Friday Night SmackDown, the fresh hot talent coming up or over from NXT, whatever you want to call it. Julia needed a big pin. It's not going to be on Charlotte that soon. All right. So you got to look at the bigger picture here. It's going to go on Zelena. And also, I'm not going to say Julia can't win Money in the Bank, but I don't think she's going to. Would I be opposed to it? No, I guess I wouldn't be opposed to it. I guess that's better than maybe some other options to win it, but I don't predict Julia winning it. I can see a world where Julia captures the U.S. Championship, honestly, and maybe they build her up a little bit that way. Again, these mid-card titles have been fluctuating, the Women's Intercontinental and the Women's U.S. title, where Lyra Valkyria wasn't being used for a long while. Chelsea was so hot with the U.S. title, and they put it on Zelena. The booking has not been great. Neither of them had matches at WrestleMania, which in the moment they shouldn't have. You know, there was no feuds built up for either of those titles that trumped any of the potential Mania matches we were going to get. So I understand their idea behind it, but could there have been is kind of the point. If you get that title on a Julia, if it's not going to go back on a Chelsea, maybe that's the momentum the U.S. title needs. So listen, I'm not complaining quite yet. But speaking of the woman, we did get another woman involved tonight in not a women's match, but a men's singles match. Tommaso Ciampa took on Chris Sabin. And none other than Candice LeRae comes out to save the day. Takes out Sabin on the top rope as Ciampa's down with a knee injury. You know, you get how it goes. It's professional wrestling. And I absolutely love it. Candice is one of the women that you got to get her involved. Candice can definitely go. And you had her kind of paired with Nia there for a little bit when Nia and Tiffany were splitting or at Rift. But it didn't really work, I guess. I'm still on board for Candice and Nia to be like a tag team, be together. Honestly, you maybe need tag teams in the women's tag division. So Candice and Nia would have been fine. But one way or another, you need Candice on TV, in my opinion. And who else are you going to pair her with if not Nia? Johnny Gargano. So, you know, I mean, it works. Let's be realistic here. The way worked. This heel version of DIY has been working. I think adding Candice to the mix is exactly what not only Candice needed, but I think DIY needed as well. where DIY and the Guns have been going at it for a while, and the Profits are pretty deadly and all this. And yeah, now sure you got new teams like Fraxium in the mix, but adding that layer of Candace to DIY, it adds a whole other layer to the entirety of all these feuds between the Guns and DIY and so on. Are we going to get a 6-person tag coming soon? You know, I know that's not maybe the most illustrious type of match, but we got DIY and Candace versus the Guns and Tiffany. I don't know. Who knows? It depends on who Candace is maybe going to find herself feuding with. But again, I think her being involved in any form, it's about time to get her a bit more prominently on TV. And guess what? You can't complain if you like Candace because DIY is on TV every week. So with that, we'll be getting more Candace LeRae. Can't complain. All right, so I said it a few times during those first opening moments to this video. I said it about DIY and Candice LeRae. I said it about the women's Money in the Bank. I said it about Damian Priest and Drew McIntyre. I said you can't complain. I said I'm not complaining, but I'm going to complain here a little bit. I'm going to complain about this 3-hour time frame for SmackDown, where there was some great stuff to open SmackDown tonight. There was some great stuff in the middle, some great stuff to close. I had a lot of fun watching SmackDown tonight. I know WWE has not been hitting every button for everybody over these last few weeks, last couple months. I get it. It hasn't for me either. There's been a lot of bad news with WrestleMania not being in New Orleans and all this, all that. But it's still fun to watch. I still have a blast watching the show. But these 3-hour shows tend to drag a little bit. Post those opening segments, there was a lot more involvement with the women. We got some makeshift tag team match, B-Fab and Mishin versus Secret Hervis. It's fine. Not much to talk about. We had R-Truth come out, and he had a very R-Truth promo to build towards tomorrow's match against John Cena. It was funny. It's R-Truth. Not much to call home about either. There was a very solid tag team match between the mix-up of Phoenix and Jimmy Uso versus Jacob Fatu and JC Mateo, and that was a great match, actually. I had a lot of fun watching that match. Jimmy and Phoenix work seamlessly together. It's like they've tagged a million times, and JC Mateo and Jacob Fatu are obviously out rift. There's a bigger picture being told here. I don't know if we're going to get Fatu versus Solo, Fatu versus Mateo at, say, SummerSlam. I don't think it's going to be set up for Money in the Bank. I think they're going to push this a little further back, but there's clearly a bigger story being told. But outside of that match being great, you know, the middle of the show here, there's a bit of like, I'm checking the time. You know, that's not me getting the Rock goosebumps. That's me CM Punk in it. I'm checking the time. Let's get this moving a little bit. I really wish SmackDown could change over to a kind of Netflix Raw type 2 to 2.5 hour schedule where it's just not going to on cable TV. It is what it is. There was a lot of rumors of SmackDown going back to 2 hours in June, and now it's just about to be June, and apparently it's not happening. So we'll see. 3-hour SmackDown might be here to stay. If it was a little bit lighter or a little bit shorter, I was going to say, they can have it cleaned up a little bit. You know, you kind of chop the split ends off of the show, and it's a whole cleaner show. But regardless, some great action between all that. The R-Truth promo is what it is. The women's tag match, fine. The tag match of Phoenix and Jimmy versus Fatu and Mateo, it was good. Triple threat came after all those. We had LA Knight take on Shinsuke Nakamura and Aleister Black, Money in the Bank qualifier. And listen, I'm an Aleister Black guy. I love me some Aleister Black. But the right man won this match, and that was LA Knight. I've been on the wave of LA Knight for a while now, where LA Knight, for years, this is before C2 Wrestling, LA Knight is an incredible talent. I loved Eli Drake. Okay, I was a fan of Sean Ricker. Let's put it that way. I love LA Knight. There was a crazy side of the fandom that also loved LA Knight, respectfully so. They should. He's great. But they wanted to push him to the moon like they want to push a lot of these stars. LA Knight wasn't world champion in 3 days of debuting, so people had so much to complain about. It's been a slow game with LA Knight. There's a timing to everything, and now is your time to strike. This is where you have LA Knight win the briefcase. And I'm going to go bold here. LA Knight should win the briefcase and turn heel. I love the idea of Monday Night Raw being the Seth Rollins show right now. With the whole Braun Breaker stable, Paul Heyman, everything, I want that world title to float back to Seth Rollins. But I really love the idea of LA Knight winning the briefcase and going heel. Showing up on Monday Night Raw and cashing in on Jey Uso. Taking the belt off the biggest babyface. And it doesn't have to be in a way of like, oh, he just comes out of the crowd and does it. I think there's a way to plan it out where, you know, Jay finds himself in need of a tag team partner, and, you know, Sammy got taken out and CM Punk got taken out. Oh, I saw someone backstage that isn't normally here, but they're here tonight. And it's LA Knight. Maybe they have a tag match together. And maybe they take on Braun and Seth. And maybe they win. Who knows? But after the match, they're in the ring. Arms are raised. And maybe LA attacks Jay. This is me fantasy booking here. I want the heel turn for LA Knight. I think that would freshen him up a little bit where he's not stale by any means, but he could be getting there, in my opinion. So I need something new for LA Knight. But again, the right man won this match. Alistair didn't take the pin. Shinsuke took the pin off the Black Mass. Great match. Not the longest match of the night. Not the best match of the night. But again, I had a lot of fun watching it. Friday Night SmackDown next week is already shaping up to be a pretty solid show. Some more Money in the Bank qualifiers. Naomi versus Nia Jax versus Jade Cargill. Hoping Naomi wins the briefcase. So I'm hoping Naomi wins that match to get a shot at the briefcase. I think the fandom might erupt if she doesn't. And then on the men's side, we got Jacob Fatu versus Carmelo Hayes versus Andrade. The rift between Fatu and Solo, you can easily add Fatu into that match, but I think there's a different story to be told with Fatu being inadvertently costed the match by Solo and JC Mateo. I think there's a way about Miz maybe costing Carmelo as well, even though he gave his slot in that match to Carmelo. I think there's stories to be told there. Give Andrade the spotlight. I want Andrade to win that match next week. We also got John Cena returning. That's going to be a pretty big show. But for the ending of tonight's SmackDown, Fraxium takes on the Street Profits for the NXT. Just kidding. The SmackDown Tag Team Championships. They are on SmackDown full time, 4-0. Until tonight, technically 4-1. They lost via DQ. The WYATT 6 interferes. They attack the Street Profits. They attack Fraxium. They attack DIY. They attack the Guns. Everybody out to the ring. This entire SmackDown Tag Division. And WYATT 6 looked great. Hell of a pop for the WYATT 6 out there. That still of them in the ring right when they came out. All of them standing tall. Loomis runs up to the top rope, throws Ford off. It was great. They looked fantastic. They feel fantastic. That was very fresh in a way. WYATT 6 has been off TV for a while. Some injuries, this, that happened. Who really knows? But they are back, the WYATT 6. I would love to see Gacy and Loomis get a tag title run down the line. I think Rowan kind of fits more of an enforcer role for Uncle Howdy. Rowan is the solo Sikoa to the Roman Reigns here, in my opinion. And then you got Nikki Cross. I said earlier, who's Candice going to feud with now that she's paired with DIY? I was trying to keep you on your toes. It's going to be Nikki Cross and the WYATT 6, and I think that's a hell of a way to add some depth to this SmackDown Tag Division, and I'm looking forward to what's to come. Again, next week, Monday Night Raw, Friday Night SmackDown. I'll be here. Reviews coming for all of them. Saturday night's main event tomorrow, I'll be here as well. Maybe some reactions, some reviews, some this, some that. You got to be subscribed. You got to have those notifications on for when C2 posts, or you'll never know. CTD, he'll be returning soon. But until then, C2 Wrestling, Snowden's here. I ain't going nowhere, baby.